Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me discussing the books that I read in December. Yes, I'm aware, it's a very late wrap-up, but you know what? Sometimes things happen, and be glad it's not a December and January wrap-up, and we just get to wrap up the year. We get to wrap up the year. We're fine. So I read a total of 6 books. 2 of them were graphic novels. 3 were for a vlog. 1 should have been finished but didn't get finished, and that got finished in January, so you'll see that next month. And then one of those 3 for a vlog was an arc, and then one of them is one that I was just reading for funsies, you know, funsies. So I have quite a lot to say, and unfortunately this was a very mid-reading month for me, so now I am kind of slumpy in January, which is fine. But let's just kind of get into it so I can just, you know, wrap up the last bit of 2022 that we have. So the first book that I read, and the only physical book that I read in the month of December, was The Star Daughter by Shveta Thakrar. This is a YA high fantasy following a young girl who was born half star, and she's kind of, you know, she's dealt with the fact that she has to dye over her white blonde hair every few months, and that sometimes she glows really brightly. But then one day, as she's trying to figure out who she is and, like, you know, get like all those, like, you know, teen angst moments out, she accidentally burns her father. Now the only way to save her father and to save his life and, you know, heal him is to go up to her mother's court and participate in a competition that she does not want to participate in. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. I felt like a lot happened in the book, but then nothing happened at the same time. I felt like the pacing was kind of weird. A lot of it was focused around this competition that took place in the last like 25, probably like the last 50 or 100 pages. Not a lot of time considering it's already a pretty short book, probably the last 50 pages. It was all just set up to that big moment, and a lot of like political intrigue, which I feel like for a standalone was not the best move. I felt like I was waiting for something to ramp up, and I was waiting for this big competition to happen, and then it just didn't happen. That I just kind of sat there and was like, well, what now? And then to boot, the competition itself was just very short-lived, not only in page count, but then in terms of excitement, in terms of what actually happened in the novel. And it was just very, 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 very lackluster. No pun intended, because she's a star. But I just wanted to see more of what was going on. I wanted to see more of the magic system, how that worked, the history, the history of the competition, and I just wanted to see more. I feel like this book probably would have been a 4, maybe a 5, had we gotten probably like another extra like 200 or 300 pages just to really enjoy the competition and to enjoy the political intrigue of this novel. I do think the prose is really nicely, and I like the inclusion of a South Asian main character, and just, it was great, except it wasn't great. The writing and the concept of itself was great. I just was not the biggest fan of the pacing, because I feel like had the pacing been done differently, even in this like page count, you probably could have gotten a lot in, but it just wasn't the case, and I was just very, very disappointed. I'm gonna move on to the 2 graphic novels I read, and after that I ended up reading The Bibliophile Princess volume 2 and 3 within the span of like a couple of nights. As one, oh no, I had a cat throw up. Don't you dare eat it! No, 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 no. If you guys don't know what this is like a manga following a young girl who strikes up a deal with the prince of like the kingdom. She doesn't like to socialize. She would rather much be like at home reading a book, chilling out, and he would like to socialize without having to worry about, like, you know, having to find a wife. So they strike up a deal and pretend to be engaged, so that way she doesn't have to really socialize with people because she's now engaged. She doesn't have to worry about finding a person. And he is engaged, also doesn't have to worry about finding a person, and can do the things he needs to do for the country. I gave these 2 editions 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy this, but like, genuinely, the plot line that happened for these 2 kind of intertwined, and they just dragged on. Like toward the end of the 3rd volume, I was like, when is this gonna end? Am I finally on the 3rd or 4th volume? And I had to like Wikipedia because I'm reading from manga app, and I was like, oh, I'm already on the 4th volume. I have finished the 2nd and the 3rd one, and I was like, then why was this so long? Like, why was this? Like, again, I definitely did enjoy the fact that, like, it's a very sweet, lighthearted romance. There were some fluffy moments. There were some, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? But the plotline just dragged on too long. And I still have kind of no idea what transpired in said plotline. I just know that it happened, and it concluded, and no one died. I don't think anyone's gonna die in this manga. But that's all I really know from it, and I don't know, because of these 2, this specific set happening so quickly after the first, the first volume, which the first volume was like a chef's kiss, I'm really hesitant to see like what else happens. I'll probably pick up the fourth volume and see like what happens, see if I want to continue on reading with the novels, but I was just like very underwhelmed by the second and the third volumes. The next book that I read is for a vlog, so if you guys, well, the next three I read for a vlog. So if you guys want to see my full thoughts on those as I read them, I will leave those linked down below. I'm going to start off with the arc and kind of go in the reverse order of what I read the books. So the first book that I read for this historical reading romance vlog was Queen Bee by Emily Howard. This is Emily Howard's like debut novel. It's a YA historical fiction following a young girl who ends up, I have no clue what her name is actually, who ends up getting kicked out of society because her best friend betrayed her and spread some really nasty rumors about her. She comes back about 3 years later, a completely changed lady. Like she, you know, the pimples are gone, the hair flows rightly now, you know, she fits into the dresses that she's purchased without so much tailoring, all that fun stuff. And she's plotted her revenge to kind of take down this like inner society from the inside and take her ex-best friend down along the way and the people who have wronged her. It's probably my highest rating out of that vlog. I won't say too much about it because again, the vlog is there. But this was an arc and this comes out April 4th of this year actually. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. This was a NetGalley arc, so thank you very much, NetGalley. But I did enjoy this book. I think it's a very good beginner novel. It does just kind of dive into like the historical romance of it all, the like setting, the lavish ball gowns, the balls, the galas, etc, etc, etc. It just, as you guys can tell, while the plot and like the concept of it was very memorable, the characters were decent. I felt like they all kind of stood out to themselves, and I really did enjoy their progression and how they worked out and how things fixed itself. But like the character, like I can't even remember the character names at all. It is also something that she goes by like 2 different names in the novel because she's like her actual name and then like her persona name. And then her persona name, I just felt like it was like there was just something missing. It's a very simple novel, nothing too over the top with it. I'll have my, like I said, the vlog and probably my review linked for this down below because it is an arc. So yes, but that is it. 4 out of 5 stars, probably the highest rated out of this one. The next one is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is an adult historical romance. This follows Viola, who was presumed dead after the war, and she returns back as like, you know, her true self in this high society. There she runs into her best friend, and she's expecting her best friend to have moved on with his life, to have enjoyed his past few years, but instead he's in a deep dark depression after the fact that he ran away and left his best friend for dead. And these two kind of come together. I think I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. While I did enjoy the historical aspect of like talking about queer people and trans people and all that spectrum, I just felt like I am realizing that my like genre when it comes to historical fiction is anti-historical fiction, just because I have just learned the ins and outs of history and the ins and outs that once colonialism came, once Catholicism came, the concept of being different, of being queer and like BIPOC was just not a thing for people then. If I wanted to see someone despise someone for the way that they look and act and who they are supposed to be as a person, I would just take a walk outside, genuinely. Like, I would just open the news. The pacing of this was kind of what dinged me in general. And like the first 30% of the novel was like fine, they were like in love, and then the rest of the 70%, I was just wondering what was going to happen next. I was just confused. I sat there trying to really wrap my head around what was going on, and instead it just, you know, it just happened. The book happened, the ending of the book happened, and then I was just kind of left there like, what am I meant to do with this knowledge? That's kind of the best I could tell y'all. And the last book that I read for the month of December was Twilight at Mornington Cross by Abigail Wilson. This is another historical fiction following a young girl who's been sent to by her husband, who was sent to live at a place of like epilepsy, and then her husband presumably died or like left her, I forget. And while she's living in this place, the person who owns the hotel has her in a will and has it stipulated that she can receive all the money and the entire manager herself as long as she marries one of 2 men that he has set in the will. Now, that's not even done with the synopsis yet. However, she finds that the mysterious 3rd man is the one who she's actually interested in, which kind of jeopardizes her ability to be financially free in a world where financial freedom is not a thing for women. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the murder mystery aspect. I love seeing a character with, I think she's epileptic, but I really enjoyed having that representation and to see her struggle with that in like this historical fictions, in this historical setting. But the thing is, I wish that they had left out the line in the synopsis where she says she's far more interested in a mysterious third man who has no bearings on this will at all or her ability to help her, because she just didn't try in the novel. She didn't try to get to know the other two men. She didn't try to like feign interest in them or like try to figure something out to be like, yeah, so we're stuck in this shithole together. I need to at least figure out who I tolerate more for. She literally was just like, oh, I like this man more, I'm gonna stick to him. I love him. And I was like, okay. This wasn't a surprise to me in the slightest. I wasn't shocked when you came to your own revelation, because it was pretty much written out in the first part of the book that you were not going to love any of the other two men. There was going to be no journey there. So I was just like, what was the point in this? And then I guess the big finale, the big plot twist at the end, and I was like, saw that coming simply because there was no struggle for her to try and really figure this out. So I was like, if there's no struggle for her to figure this out, why should I be worried that she's not going to get her money then? But again, all of those 3 books, if you guys want to see my progress of reading all 3 books and seeing my thoughts on them, vlog will be linked down below, and then I'll have my review on Goodreads or Storygraph, probably both, on Queen Bee by Emily Howard. But that is it for the 6 books I read in the month of December. Very midway, like a midway hyphen, to end 2022. Not my favorite reading month out of the entire year, I'm not gonna lie, but it was better than some, but not as great as others. So if you guys want to see me do more wrap-ups, I do these once a month as per usual for wrap-ups, but I will leave, let me know in the comments down below if you guys want me to do any reviews on any books that I might have on these shelves, or if you're waiting for something that I havenent read before or want to suggest a book to me, let me know. And until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!